Hello, this is Lily Morningstar, your instructor at College of Southern Nevada. This recording is for the class CIT 173, Introduction to Linux. Lesson 1, Getting Started with Linux. The goals of this lesson is to understand concepts of open source software, Unix-based operating systems, understanding what is kernel and Linux distributions and flavors. The learning outcomes will be define and explain the purpose of Linux, open source Linux distributions, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So why would you choose Linux? Well, first of all, Linux is really used in everything now. Whatever you touch today, any electronic device, it's pretty much operated on Linux. Yes, you might use your PC that is based off Windows operating system or maybe Mac OS. But if you're using your mobile phone and if it's not Apple iPhone, if it's an Android device, it's Linux. If you're using your any IoT or smart devices at home, it's all operated on Linux. All the web hosting and cloud computing based on Linux. Linux is open source, which means we can work on code and modify the way we want, and developers from all over the world exactly doing this. It has very powerful command line interface. You can do through the command line a lot more than you can get done through the graphic user interface in Windows or in Mac. And there are unlimited possibilities of modification. What is open source? Well, open source software is the code that anyone can use, anyone can study, anyone can modify and share. There are 4 benefits of open source that you need to remember. First of all, it's control. You can see what the code does and change it and improve it. Training is the second. You can learn from real world code, develop more useful applications. Security, because everyone can inspect sensitive code and you can inspect the code and fix without original developers' help or permission. Stability, code can survive the loss of original developer or distributor. Not all open source software is free. Open source software can be sold. There are different types of open source licenses. Copyleft licenses that are designed to encourage keep code open source. GNU General Public License, GPL, and the lesser GNU Public License. License LGPL is permissive license that designed to maximize code realizability. Distros and flavors. Let's talk about that. Little bit about the history. So, in 1991, Linus Torvalds, he was a student, a graduate student. He worked with the Unix operating system and decided to develop his own operating system that is free and open source, and anyone can use and actually get access and develop and work with. So that's official birth date of Linux, the year 1991, and Linus Torvalds is the father of Linux. You also have to remember that Linux is a child of Unix operating system. This very cute pigeon named Tax, and from the article I found on How to Geek, the link you can see below, I found out that actually Tax named from the letters from Torvalds Unix. Again, remember, Linux based off Unix and developed by Torvalds. So they just took 3 letters, TUX. And the author of this cute guy is James Huggins, and official birth date of this guy is June 10, 1996. After he wrote the kernel for Linux. You can read the whole story if you go to the link below, or you can simply Google who is Tax or why Pigeon is the mascot, official mascot of Linux. There are many Linux distributions, but let's first figure out what is distribution. Distribution is the version of Linux. Obviously, if it's open source software, anybody can modify the kernel of Linux and make their own version. So as you can see on this image, there are clearly a lot of different versions of Linux. And each of these versions with a different, as you can see, logo is its own distribution. For example, I want you to take a look at Debian. Debian Linux has its own distributions. So Debian distribution itself, but it has distributions such as Knoppix and really famous and very popular distribution as Ubuntu. I love Ubuntu. I use Ubuntu, and it's very user-friendly operating system. In this class, we will be using Red Hat. That's another distribution. And Red Hat has multiple flavors too. Oh, let's talk about flavors then. What is the flavor? Well, Linux has a lot of flavors because flavor is slight modification of the distribution. Let's just say slightly redesigned distribution, some modification in layout of the user interface, or not really crucial changes. Like I said here on the slide, to the satisfied taste of every picky user. Now let's talk a little bit about Red Hat. All the text from on these slides is directly from the book, and I'm gonna just briefly cover this. So who's the Red Hat? Red Hat is commercial production grade Linux distribution, and Red Hat participates and supports in individual open source projects. Red Hat sponsors and integrates open source projects in community-driven Fedora distributions. Red Hat stabilized the CentOS Stream software to be ready for long-term support and standardization. Fedora is the community project that produces and releases a free, comprehensive Linux-based operating system. EPEL, it's extra packages for enterprise Linux. Basically, it's community-driven repository of programs and software developed by regular users of Red Hat, like you and me, who would like to contribute and participate in developing products and software for Fedora. CentOS Stream is upstream project for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And in a quick note that before 2019 CentOS was free, but not anymore. CentOS community enjoyed having free clone, but you can learn a little bit about this in the book. And if you would like to know more, you always can Google to find out more information about why Red Hat decided to go this route. And let's talk about what is Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Red Hat Enterprise Linux, for short RHEL, is Red Hat production-ready commercial supported Linux distribution operating system. Red Hat builds our shell major releases directly from CentOS Stream. It's continuously developing this project, and it's sourced directly from Fedora. And it uses subscription-based support. Basically, you getting into subscription model and getting the license and getting support for being a part of the customer base. Thank you for watching this lesson. If you have any questions, please reach out. And with that, we're going to conclude lesson 1.